How's it going, and welcome to Formar Ranch. Now today I am pleased to be presenting you with the Nitecore T4K, which is a very versatile, useful, and intelligent flashlight. In fact, Nitecore calls this their quad-core intelligent keychain light. That's quite a mouthful, but T4K for short, for a couple reasons. First of all, you have 4 LEDs on the front of this little guy, and it also goes up to 4,000 lumens. There's a number of modes, settings, and features. We'll get into that in just a bit. And of course, at the end of this video, I'll actually show you a brightness test. So skip to that if that's all you're after. But I'll go ahead and give you my overall impressions of this flashlight. Now, full disclosure, Nitecore approached me. They offered to send this to me for some use and abuse and to give you my thoughts on it. And honestly, guys, I've been incredibly pleased with this flashlight. It actually is a little bit different style review than normal, because for those of you that aren't aware, I do live in Texas, and for those of you that haven't been living under a rock, I would say it's been a good month to 6 weeks ago that Texas lost power for an extended period of time. Luckily, I had received this Nitecore flashlight the week before, and what features I like most about this is it has an OLED display on this flashlight that tells you exactly how much runtime is left on the different modes. Now, speaking of different modes, you do have a variety. So you have 1 lumen, and for example, right now it's telling me I have 59 hours and 25 minutes of runtime with the current charge on this battery. So keep in mind, we take a lot of the ambient light for granted around our surroundings. Now, if you're in the city like me, you probably have a bunch of neighbors that have outdoor lighting. You may have your own outdoor lighting, street posts, businesses, etc. When all that goes black, like it did in Texas, it is incredibly dark. Therefore, I actually left the 1 lumen mode on in my walkways at night so that I could see where I was going if I needed to get up during the night and check out what's going on, check on my pipes, make sure nothing was freezing or bursting. And again, the fact that I have 60 hours of runtime, and again, this is not even a full charge, but I have 59 hours and some change on it right now, is just incredible. And what's even better, you know exactly what you got left. So switching to the next mode, you have a 15 lumen mode. You also have a 65 lumen and then a 200 lumen, and those are your standard modes. But the name 4K, 4000, right? You hold down a turbo mode and you have roughly 10 seconds of an absolutely blinding bright light right here. So I'm holding down just so you can see how long it'll go, and then it'll go back to the previous mode so that it doesn't overheat. However, you can go ahead and just jump right back into it. And I have a really bright studio light, and it just, it overpowers it entirely. I don't want to look directly into it, so it would honestly blind the hell out of you. And it can almost double as not only, a utilitarian kind of flashlight, but self-defense. So what I'd say I actually end up using most often on this flashlight, other than this clip going in my pocket, is it fits just great onto a hat. And now you essentially have a headlamp as well. So recent hunts, I've actually brought this along because it's bright and reliable. I went camping last weekend actually, and this was my headlamp around camp. It's a little bit more convenient than your classic style headlamps because depending on what I needed, I had a buddy who actually didn't even bring a flashlight. He asked to borrow the light and just slip it off. Here you go, man. Now, like I said, the max output is 4,000 lumens. Let's go ahead and throw up a timer just so you know how long you can actually use that turbo mode. And we'll go ahead and start right now. Hopefully you can see that. I guess I shouldn't blind the camera. So I'd say right about 12 seconds right there. So 10-second estimate that I gave you earlier was a little conservative. So you get roughly a 12-second burst, and again, you can dive right back into it, but keep in mind that it's really hard on the flashlight. It gets warm and it's going to kill your battery life. In fact, now my 1 lumen is down to 52 hours. So I shaved off roughly 7 hours with those couple bursts that I've demonstrated so far with the different modes right there. So just something to keep in mind there. I would really use it only in a self-defense scenario. But moving on, they advertise a 209 meter distance. Now I tested it to 120 yards. In the footage that you'll see, it completely lit up our front gate at 120 yards, no issues whatsoever. So I'd say I definitely believe they're 209 meter distance on the throw. But one thing in terms of the throw of this flashlight, it is not a spotlight whatsoever. It has a very wide flood, and especially in that 4,000 lumen mode, it just lights up everything and still has a pretty good amount of reach given that it is that bright and not really that narrow of a beam. I was pretty impressed that it just literally lights up everything like day. It's advertised to have 1 meter drop resistance. I definitely believe it. It's an entirely aluminum housing. In fact, there's not any plastic whatsoever, so it feels very durable and well made and should last the test of time. As always, if there's any issues with these kind of products that I review for you guys, I will leave a pinned comment below. If this ever breaks on me one day, years from now, I'll give you an update. So depending on when you're watching this video, check the comments below and I'll let you know if there's been any issues. But as of this video and using it now for about 2 months, so far so good. And it does have an IP54 waterproof rating, so it'll hold up in the elements just fine. Now, the controls are really simple on this flashlight. There's only 2 buttons and a single USB Type-C charging port, so there's not a whole lot of interfaces on this flashlight that you can kind of mess with. Now, all you do is simply tap the top button once. The OLED lights up, lets you know exactly how much battery you have without even having to activate the flashlight, which is nice. But if you tap the bottom power button, the flashlight will turn on. All 4 little LEDs will light up. And briefly, the OLED will display how much runtime you have remaining. Now you tap the top button or the mode button and it'll toggle through all the different brightnesses from 1 lumen to 15 lumens to 65 lumens and then to 200. Now in any of these modes or with the flashlight off, you hold down that mode button and you get the turbo mode. Since the turbo mode especially can go off in any mode, there is an actual lockout mode. All you do is simply press the power button and then hold down briefly. You'll see a lock symbol pop up. To unlock it, you again quick tap and then kind of hold the power button immediately after that quick tap. So it's a tap hold, and then you'll see a key symbol with kind of a loading bar, and you'll have to hold it for approximately 2 seconds. It'll unlock, and that's just a way to prevent the light from coming on in your pocket, which again is pretty useful. They really kind of thought it out without overcomplicating it. Now, other than that, there's no other features other than that USB Type-C charging port. I'm glad Nitecore is with the times, as I'm seeing more and more electronics go USB Type-C, and slowly all my chargers are kind of working that way. So although a charger is included, it will be compatible with any USB Type-C chargers you have on hand. Last but not least, there is a little attachment that can come off so that if you put it on a keychain, you can quick unclip it from the keychain. Again, just giving you one more utility on this flashlight. Depending on what your needs are, you can use it in a different amount of ways. Okay, so other than that, let's go ahead and dive into the nighttime test footage so you can kind of get an idea of just how bright this little guy is. Okay, so starting off with 1 lumen, and bear with me, not enough light for the camera to effectively autofocus. There's 1 lumen. I'm going to go ahead and just jump to the 15 lumen setting. So here we have 15 lumens, and just for a quick note guys, the camera is adjusted to where what you're seeing is roughly what it looks like to my eye, so not trying to make camera settings make it look brighter than it really is. And then 30 feet away we have this trailer with some reflectors on it, just to give you kind of another idea. Gonna go ahead and kick it up now to the 65 lumen setting, so getting pretty bright. Again, 30 feet away, the trailer. All right, and now we have the 200 lumen setting. Real bright there. And notice this is not really a spotlight. It's really more of like a floodlight. It just absolutely the spill is very wide, so keep that in mind. So it is pretty impressive. It does have good reach. And speaking of reach, we're gonna go ahead and go to the 4000 lumen turbo setting. And I am exactly 120 yards away from our front gate. So focus. So yeah, again, especially since it's not a very narrow beam, pretty impressive. Now you do get roughly 10 seconds on that turbo mode to keep it from overheating. Now I'm zoomed into the gate. Give you guys one more look. I mean, just absolutely makes nighttime look like daytime. Just ridiculous amount of light coming from this tiny little light. And just one more time, bear with me, I'm doing this with only 2 hands I got. Just an absolute beacon lighting up this dusty, windy night sky. Pretty impressive. So that's pretty much it for this one. I will have a link in the description below if you are interested in picking one of these up for yourself. I, again, highly recommend it. I actually use this very regularly. It's now going to be a part of my EDC or everyday carry kit. At the very least, it's going to stay in my truck and continue to get used on hunting and camping trips. So if you want one for yourself, check the description below. I'd really like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and as always guys, have a good one.